always look on the bright side of life.
In 1977, the summer before 6th grade, my family moved to Plano, Texas. It was the 6th time we had moved, so I was familiar with being the new kid. I developed a routine to deal with it. Make a few jokes to prove I was a good guy, stay out of trouble, then safely integrate into the new school culture. But things were different in Plano. Kids went steady. Clothing labels mattered. Students addressed their elders as sir or ma'am. So while my jokes were warmly received, I was relegated to the table with the other Sears clothing kids, where the scent of cologne and, alas, perfume was nowhere to be found. We were nerds wearing striped t-shirts and plaid pants, which is why Peter stood out. Fresh from Virginia, Peter wore Star Wars t-shirts, a different one every day. Peter, who, like me, had not yet discovered combs or brushes, loved comedy. He turned me on to the best: Monty Python, Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, and National Lampoon. His parents' comedy album collection was vast, hilarious, and brimming with profanity. Peter smuggled albums upstairs to his room, and amongst the model airplanes and Kiss posters, we tried not to laugh too loud at George Carlin's list of 7 words we could never say on television. Had we been caught, we would have been grounded for life, but it would have been worth it. Desperate to be accepted, we decided to perform a comedy routine at our school's talent show and began writing material. But everything we wrote was far too sophisticated, meaning dirty, for school, so we settled on a magic act. But we didn't abandon comedy writing completely. One morning on the playground before school, as we hung upside down from the monkey bars, I asked Peter what he had for breakfast. He said Cap'n Crunch, but I swore I heard Cap'n Nut Crunch. For those of you who have never been a 12-year-old boy, as long as you aren't the recipient, there is nothing funnier than a groin injury. We laughed like drunks. Then we started creating other names. So brilliant were they that I grabbed an index card and wrote down our ideas. Our brainstorming session moved from the playground to the classroom, where we passed the card back and forth, each new name drawing a bigger laugh than the last. I am not proud of this list, but in the interest of full disclosure, here are a select few. Sergeant Rock, fart. Lieutenant Butt Liquor. Inspector Tits. Don't mind if I do. Thank you. Private Poop Shits. General Frankenfucker. We wrote until the bell rang, signaling the start of class. I rushed to put the card on the floor by my stack of books, out of sight. After class ended, I got distracted and went to our next subject, forgetting all about it. Like any genius comedy duo, we were discovered. Thank you. But instead of an agent or a producer, it was Denise Danielson. Her name has been changed to protect her stupid identity. She found the card between our chairs. Now, why she couldn't just read it, then throw it away like everyone else who's ever read my stuff is beyond me. Instead, she turned it into Ms. Cooper, who briefly interrogated our class. I had never been in trouble, so I had no idea what was going on. But as soon as she held up the index card, I felt like I had just rolled down a steep hill. "Who wrote this?" she asked. Everyone shrugged. She looked at Peter and me. "It was you two, wasn't it?" "Yes, ma'am." Oh, innocence. We knew nothing about staying quiet, acting ignorant, or just plain lying. We trudged to the principal's office, tight-chested, lightheaded, afraid. Our principal, Ms. Russell, bore a striking resemblance to Norman Bates' mother and was equally charming. I feared we'd either be forbidden from participating in the talent show or get licks, paddling, a barbaric method of getting kids to act the way you want them to. Fortunately, our punishment was mild. Clean the kindergarten bathrooms during lunch for 2 weeks. Of course, we still had to tell our parents. That night, I went into the living room where they were watching Dallas and did my best to downplay the event. Man, that J.R. Ewing, he's something else. Hey, I got in trouble at school today for writing some cuss words on an index card. What is Sue Ellen even see in him? My dad turned off the TV. My parents were disappointed at my poor behavior and confused at the school's punishment. Cleaning bathrooms? I was grounded, which wasn't so bad, but my mistakes came back to haunt me whenever I was in need of a favor. Hey, Dad, can I borrow some money? Why don't you ask Private Poop Shits? Private Poop Shit said no. On the third day of bathroom duty, our classmate Wayne Goodwin rushed in and announced, "You guys have got to get back to class. You're in big trouble." We dropped our brushes and raced to class, only to find that Wayne was joking. It was time to audition for the talent show. The urgency of the summons left us no time to be nervous. We amazed the audience, cracked a few jokes, and won a slot in the show. Our bathroom cleaning that day, like a cuss word-filled index card left on the ground, was quickly forgotten. Meanwhile, the kindergarten teacher returned from lunch to find cleaning supplies left out. She went to Ms. Russell, who pulled us from class. What had we done wrong now? The yelling started as soon as Ms. Russell closed the door. Ms. Russell bent over, leveling her face with Peter, and shrieked, "You've been messing around, haven't you?" "No, ma'am," he said, and tried to explain. She interrupted him and repeated the question over and over. Peter started crying. "Yes, ma'am," I lied to shut her up. "We were messing around." She walked around her desk and opened a file drawer. "Shoot. You'll each receive 3 licks." She pulled a thick, varnished wooden paddle from the drawer and tethered it to her wrist with a leather cord. She then hit each of us 3 times, harder than I had ever or have ever been hit. The next day, Peter and I were asked all sorts of questions. "Did it hurt?" "A little," we each said. "Did you cry?" "He did," we each said. "What did you say when your parents got the call from Ms. Russell?" Now, it was school district policy that anyone giving licks had to call the parents first, but Ms. Russell never called. She broke the rules. And if the principal could break the rules, what was stopping us? The threat of licks? Didn't we just survive those? After that, Peter and I lost the talent show to Corey West, one of 3 kids, to perform "You Light Up My Life." And in a fit of suburban adolescent Stockholm syndrome, I asked Denise Danielson to go steady with me. She said no, flat out. Go figure. For the rest of the school year, before Peter's family packed up and moved away, we went back to our comedy albums and outsider status. We always said "sir" and "ma'am," and were far more careful to keep our index cards hidden.